interview. So let's have a look at the resume part. Now, when I discuss about the resume portion, we all have made a lot of drafts of resume and all. We consult a lot of relatives, the ones educated, working in good positions and all, as to go through our resume and recommend what to do. And then, you know, our professors, teachers and all, we approach a lot of people and try to ask them ki mera resume mein, you know, I have this issue, how should I go about it? And in all probability, you're going to get 10 different answers from 10 different people about the same thing. Like when you ask them a question, say suppose, should I mention hobbies in my resume or not? There will be 5 people saying ki you should mention, there will be 5 people mentioning that you should not mention your hobbies in your resume. So I am not going to be, I cannot vouch for what I'm saying is the accurate one, because there is no accurate format. It's not a 2+2 where I can say that what I'm saying is the, you know, the right way of putting in a resume. But what I have learned from my experience, because I was preparing my resume for articleship, for jobs and all. So what I learned was there will be 20 people with 20 opinions. The decision as to what you need to do in the resume is going to be yours. So you need to decide how you are going to prepare your resume, because there will be n number of people, n number of websites giving n different opinions on the same thing. What I will try to do for you is I will try to justify every single point I make. If you agree with my justification, you follow what I'm saying. If you do not agree with my justification for a particular point, you're more than welcome to follow what you think is right. So there is no right way or wrong way, because we feel very underconfident when we are preparing a resume, because you know we're just applying, we're just entering that phase. We don't want to lose out on an opportunity. So it's very, you feel very skeptical. You're very skeptical when you're preparing your resume for the first time. So I understand that bit really well. So that's what I'm saying, that everybody is going through the same phase. So don't get very agitated. And to make a good resume is gonna take you at least 7 to 10 days. It does take 7 to 10 days. People think that a Word document banana hai, I just have to create a Word document and it's going to take hardly half an hour, 40 minutes. I'll make a Word document, resume is going to be ready and I'll be able to use it. It does not happen that way. So don't take it lightly. It takes you a week, 10 days, because you're going to be mailing the resumes to multiple people. They'll give their feedback. Then you'll have to edit according to the feedback, then send into that. And then again, you send it to a second person, and then he changes again the same thing which you already rectified. So it's a very continual process. It's a very irritating process also at times. So you're going to take a lot of time. You need 7 to 10 days to create a good resume. That is why when I'm talking to students who are yet to create, like say for example CA final students who are yet to have their results out, I tell them not to wait for the results to be out, but prepare your resume for your GDPI, etc. Start doing that, because the moment your result is out, you need to fill in a blank wherein you've not put in your scores and immediately hit the button to, you know, send your resume to multiple people. And don't start preparing a resume and finding out whom to send after your CA result, CFA result, whatever result is out. Don't wait until that time. Already have, I need to apply through this person, this relative works over there, this person works over there, this friend works over there. So already have your sources listed. Okay, this place mein, this person is going to be applying. So have that list of people on pen and paper, because you will forget. There are so many people to apply to so many companies. Right? So have a list of people ready with their email IDs and all, and have your resume ready before the result is out. You cannot wait for the result, because otherwise you're already delaying it by 10 days. The process gets delayed by 10 days if you start after the results are out. So you cannot do that. So everybody keeps on making a rough draft of their resume on a very regular basis. So what I would recommend is invest those 7, 8, 10 days. Not that you have to spend 8 hours a day, but it will take 8 to 10 days for people to, you know, approve of your resume, give you suggestions, get a formal draft ready, make a very good resume for the first time, because then what happens is you just keep on updating it. You have to continually keep on updating your resume, and if you're not updating your resume, matlab you're going somewhere wrong. Because if you're not updating, you're not growing. If you're not growing, don't ask for a salary raise. So your resume needs to be updated. If you're not updating, that means you're being lethargic. You're not doing anything to enhance your resume. So the resume needs an update. My resume needs an update every 6 months or 4 months or something. So I make sure that my resume needs to be updated on a regular basis. So have a very, very well prepared resume in the first instance itself. So there are a few tips I'll give you, and then we'll get into a lot of rules and all, and I'll try to give you every single justification for every single point that I'm going to discuss. So when we're talking about the resume, management jargons and Greek language and complications are not needed. Now the first thumb rule I'll tell you, I think you will all agree with me, a person, when you're applying for a job or something, a person is not going to be looking at your resume for more than 15 to 20 or 25, 30 seconds at the max. 30 seconds at the max, for which you have prepared for 10 days, your 25, 30, 35, 40 years of qualification, and your hard work, and the person who's interviewing you is not even going to give a 30-second glance to your resume. So it's going to be hardly 15, 20, 25 maximum seconds that the person is going to be looking at the resume. So you need to give out all the details, everything in those 15, 20 seconds. So whoever is reviewing your profile, he needs to be reviewing, he needs to be getting that information. Whatever information in the first 15-20 seconds he'll get from reading your resume is based on which he's going to be either selecting you, calling you for an interview, or not calling you for an interview. So if I fill up my resume with a lot of nonsense rubbish, he'll probably spend 15-20 seconds, 30 seconds reading the nonsense based on which he's not going to call me. So I need to have my resume so crisp that within 15 to 20 seconds, I need to convey the maximum possible information. Suppose I'm going to give you 15 seconds, and within which you need to convince me to call you for an interview. So what data will you give me? What attributes or what qualification or what qualities about yourself are you going to tell me? Are you going to tell me your father's name, address, and all ki based on my address, based on my father's name, based on class 2 ka one certificate that I got, based on that should I call you for an interview? No, right? So in those 15, 20, 25 seconds, whatever information you can provide to the person who's reviewing your profile, you're reviewing your resume, you need to prepare your resume in that manner. That's the first thing. That's a basic thing that you need to understand. Because we want to put in things like, say for example, I got something in class 5 which was the best student of junior section or something. That's something very important to me. But the interview is not going to give a crap about it. So I cannot include that, even though I want to. Personally, I want to. I might as well leave out one degree and probably include that in my profile. But I cannot do that. I cannot do that. Because that might be important to me, but it's not important to the person who is going to hire me. So you need to give that information which is going to be very much required and very much applicable for that person. Now I have multiple versions of my resume as well. When I'm applying as a corporate trainer, in my work experience, I'll give 4 lines to corporate training assignments, and maybe only a couple of lines to the visiting faculty part. But when I'm applying as a teaching profession, as a visiting faculty in a college or something, I'll probably expand that teaching experience portion over there. So maybe you can, it's not that I'm not misguiding anybody, just that I'm choosing to give more emphasis and less emphasis to certain parts of my resume. Because till now my resume is just a 1-page resume. Because it's better to keep it 1 page. And I see people 1-page resume and then there's a quarter of a page, 1/3 of a page. That is really ridiculous. Unless you have 4, 5, 6 years of experience, your resume should stick to a 1-page resume. It's better that way. Because again, 15, 20, 30 seconds, as I told you. So, and if I can fit in my stuff in 1-page resume, I think it's not that difficult also to fit in everything in a 1-page resume. And I have to delete things. Like if I added something, just a few days back I was updating my resume, I added a couple of things, but then I had to delete 2 lines, because otherwise how do I add? If I have to add something, I have to delete something, because I have that 1 page available. So it's not necessary to show everything that you have done. But yeah, we need to scale up. So anyways, so management jargons and Greek language is not required, because you are not supposed to be testing the HR's English or the manager's English. Don't irritate him. Don't make him take that extra 5 seconds to comprehend what you're writing. Because if you're writing in a complicated manner, he'll take 5 seconds to interpret that. And we don't want him to do that. We want him to understand our qualities. 15 seconds I want him to understand 100 of my qualities so that he hires me. He calls me for an interview. Garnish your resume, your CV well. CV is a little incorrect. So try to keep it very simple and not flashy. It needs to look very professional. I'll discuss exactly what are the wrong portions. It has only black and white colors. You can add one more color. Of course, we are not adding orange, pink, yellow, green, and all those weird colors over there. What you can do is maybe a shade of blue or something in order to just make your resume look good. I'll show you a sample resume and I'll tell you where we can add a color. Maybe a single color apart from black and white may be added. but of course it needs to be a very okay kind of a color that does not strike out that badly. It needs to be very crisp, smart, and try to occupy minimum space on the page where your personal details go. So I'll show you a sample resume that we need to have minimum space to be occupied with our personal details. Do not copy paste a fancy quote from the internet. That's a very big you could call it a turn off for an HR when he is reading your resume. I see people, career goals, you'll Google up career goals, you'll find out there are 20 options, you'll take one, you'll copy that, paste it on a resume, and don't think the HR is a fool, because he's been going through the resumes on a very regular basis. So when you're giving a career goal which is a copy pasted, people understand. And please do not make the mistake of thinking that the person who's going to interview is dumb and you are smarter than him and you're going to outsmart him. Don't think of that. I have a friend who's like, MBA graduates and all, I'll fake some stuff on my resume and I'll convince the interviewer on that. First of all, when you're lying, your body language says it. Your confidence level automatically goes down. If I start lying about things on my resume, the confidence level of my interview is going to go down. So try not to lie. If you still are adamant that, I need to do something about my resume, the maximum that you can do is exaggerate a little bit. Exaggerate. That's still okay. But don't blatantly lie about anything in the resume. You'll not be able to pull it off. No matter how good an actor you are, you'll not be able to, because the other person, the interview, will understand, through your body language, and your confidence level goes down. Your confidence level immediately goes down. So don't do that. Why that particular thing is an achievement. So when you're putting in something as an achievement, why do you think it is an achievement? Like maybe participation in an elocution contest in class 12, suppose. Participation in an elocution, do you think it's an achievement? Now say for example, if someone questions, like elocution dekh karke, if someone is questioning, maybe I used to stammer and I had a problem of being an introvert or something, and therefore putting in elocution as an achievement, then I'll be able to justify in the interview. But normally if I put that, that I had an elocution and I participated in that, it's not an achievement then. So if whatever you are putting in your resume, why is it an achievement? You need to look at that. Maximum interview might revolve around your achievement and work history. Your work experience is going to be a very, very important part. For freshers, of course, it's not going to be an important part because you don't have much about it. But your work experience and your achievements is more focused on than your technical skills. Because if they want to test your technical skills, they are going to be doing a written test for that. Instead of wasting time on an interview, your interview, 20-30% of the interview might be technical. It also depends on the kind of job profile that you're looking forward to. So it'll depend on that. So when you're talking about the career history or experience, mention very clearly the time frame that you were associated with the company. So when you're mentioning work experience, you can't just mention company X, company Y, company Z. You need to mention for every single company that you worked in as to what time you're working in that company, because the tenure is very important. The job role and responsibilities is very important, because ultimately if I am hiring someone, I want to see that what has he learned in the previous job. How is it going to make my life easier? If you are a part of my team, how does it make my life, my work easier? That is what I'm going to be looking at. So I need to understand what was your role and responsibility in your previous profile. So that needs to be there. Avoid writing at length. Try to keep the content very crisp and short. Hobbies and all, safe bet to bracket them as interest areas, but I would suggest please do not put your hobbies on your resume, because if you have too much of blank place in your resume and you'd have to put in something, because obviously you can't even give a half a page resume. So if you don't have much to put in and then you have to put in hobbies, then it's still okay. But we'll discuss how to put in the hobbies part. Be specific when you're writing hobbies. I'll discuss that part. Say for example, reading fiction of a particular genre. Just reading is my hobbies, reading, driving, etc. It sounds very informal. So if you're writing reading, write reading in the mystery genre, like reading fiction. So at least put in some specific details about your hobbies. Music, what kind of music? Listening, playing, what? So you need to put in little more details. Let's get to the proper details about your resume. These things are going to be very important. So always send your resume in a PDF format. I see so many people sending resumes to me in a Word document format. Now the problem is, if your Word version, the MS Word, is 2010 and mine is 2016, it will probably not open up well, and it might be having very distorted formatting. The formatting will go haywire. That is going to be a problem. The second problem that happens is, now say for example, I have prepared a resume using a particular shade of blue, and when I send you that resume and when you switch on that resume, maybe your monitor or your computer, PC screen, laptop screen has a little, nowadays that problem is not there because everybody is using very good screen quality, but earlier this problem used to be there. The color shade used to be a little different. Small differences, small things matter a lot. And especially when I'm opening, say for example, you mail me the resume and I'm opening it on my phone. When you're opening in the Word document, the whole formatting will get distorted. But if you're sending in a PDF, the way it is shown, exactly the same way it is going to show up on your phone. And most of the documents I'm accessing on my phone most of the times. So I cannot open your resume in a Word document on my phone. Don't you think most of us are accessing our mails and all on the go while using our cell phones? The third problem that happens is when you're printing out the resume, it will print, the print might go a little distorted. The formatting gets haphazard when you're printing out a Word document. Because I'm using 2016 version, when I send the document to someone who's using a 2010 version and he prints the resume, it goes a little up and down. And then the margins and all those issues you understand because everybody will have different print settings. So maybe you sent a one-page resume, but what will happen when the other person is printing it out, it will be printed in 2 pages. So always send your resume in PDF format. Please, that's like very basic thing. Please never send your resume in a Word document format. The file name should be your name and should not contain the word CV, but it should contain the word resume. Why am I asking your file name should be, the file name should be your name? The reason being because what we do is final draft. Your resume's name will be draft 1. Bracket mein, within the brackets you'll have 5 because that's the 5th version you're saving. 2016, 2017, mentioning 2017 or something is still fine. Mentioning 2017 is still fine. But I would suggest first name, space, second name, underscore, resume. So basically, it's easier when the HR is also saving because it'll be easier for him or her to find your resume if it is saved in your name. Because when we are opening the document, at times we save the document and then open it. So it'll be easier for the person to notify also. Final draft, first draft, second draft, final, underscore final. Please don't do that. You don't need to tell him, of course you are sending the final draft to that person. So please don't name your resume with final. Don't do that. It should be a name underscore resume. Right? Please, and it's resume. CV is curriculum vitae, and that is actually standing for a much detailed version of your academic and professional qualification and experience. A CV is generally going to be 7-8 pages long. A resume is a shorter version of CV. So what we actually send in a page or 2 is actually resume and not CV. So when you're sending resume, I see everybody, and one more thing, you write CV, curriculum vitae, everybody wants to spell it out properly, and they'll put that in bold on the top. You don't have to do that, come on. You don't have to put, you need to put your name at the top of your resume, and you don't have to write resume in the resume. You don't have to do that. They know that it's your profile. So saving the name that way, it's important. Please make a very good LinkedIn profile. It's very, very important to connect on a professional network. In your LinkedIn profile, please do not have your display picture as an informal picture. Please do not do that. I see people playing a football or something like that. They'll put an image like that. Put an image in your LinkedIn profile which has got something to do with your profile, your profession. Say for example, if you're a consultant and like say for example, if I take an image of mine, maybe holding a slide changer or something in front of the projector, that is still okay because at least that's communicating my profession in a way. So the profile picture need not be a very smiling and it need not be candid, please. No candid profile pictures for your LinkedIn. So have a professional picture for your LinkedIn. LinkedIn profile needs to be very, very good. It needs to be 100% updated. And it's very important that you're connecting with all your friends, all your teachers, all the people you're interacting in office. When I was leaving my job, I made it a point that I connected with every single person I interacted in the office over LinkedIn. It's possible they might shift to another organization. What if I want to shift over there? Today your friends are not working, they're studying along with you. Tomorrow your friends start working, they will be in different companies. Don't you think it's important that you're updated about where they are working? You want to be updated about their personal life and you'll be following Facebook totally. But don't you think it's more important to be updated about their professional profile and updates about that? So it's very important that you're connected with your friends on LinkedIn. And I'm telling you, do not take your LinkedIn profiles lightly. Have a very good profile with every single detail updated, and the English and the language, because I see people updating, Facebook समझ के Facebook की तरह update कर देते LinkedIn को. They'll update LinkedIn, in a very casual manner. Don't do that. I have gotten a good number of corporate trainings and consulting work through LinkedIn. There are people who approach via LinkedIn. It's a professional networking site. And it's very important that you have a very good, crisp profile. And I'm telling you, please make sure that your LinkedIn profile ke liye, you ask your friends to review, friends or someone, some colleagues or someone, to actually check that how is your profile looking when they are accessing it. Right? So have a very good LinkedIn profile. It's exceptionally important, I'm telling you. It's a very important tool which a lot of HRs are nowadays using in order to find candidates. Because it's cheaper. At times, it's cheaper to find candidates via LinkedIn. So have a very impeccable profile, very seriously, very formally made. And on a very regular basis, you need to update. If there's anything that has happened, any credential that has been added, you need to update your LinkedIn profile immediately. Don't let it be outdated. Right? Do not use your residential address. Now, why do I say that? First of all, 15, 20, 30 seconds, you need to communicate all the information to the reviewer, to whoever is going through your profile. Do you think the person is ever going to be communicating you via a chitti, via a post, a letter? He's always going to be emailing you. So how does it matter as to where are you residing? What is your location? What is your residential address? Right? So residential address is not going to matter on your resume at all. And nowadays, most of the people are very okay with commuting also, with relocating also, sorry. So, and that is going to be a question which the HR is anyways going to ask, that whether you're comfortable relocating to another location or not. So it's not a good idea to give a residential location. And also it kind of shows a restriction. Okay, this person is located over here, let's say Kolkata. So will he be commuting? Will he be wanting to come to Bangalore or not? Or maybe if I have to ask him to come to Bangalore, I'll have to give him the, transportation and all those compensation and all. So why put in my residential address? I'll never do that, because the person is never going to communicate to me via post. It's always going to be through email. So it makes no sense, making the person wasting 2-3 seconds on the address. So I never give the address, and that's the reason for it. So whether you want to give your residential address or not is up to you, but that's my reason of not giving the residential address on the resume. Mention your phone number and email ID, and please do not have a cool underscore, rocking underscore, and a sweet Simran and all those. Please don't do that. Please don't do that. It's really ridiculous to have those kind of mail IDs. Have a professional mail ID. And it's of course it's possible that you'll not get the mail ID as per your name exactly. In that case, generally people, what they do is they include the DDMM part of their birth date. Don't include the YY part, because today your age might not matter to you, but tomorrow you might not want people to understand your age from your email ID. So preferred to have DDMM of your birth date or any other way, but it should not be unprofessional. A lot of people also attach their college name, alma mater, in their resume. Like if someone is from an IIM ABC or something, they would want that their name and then an IIMA@gmail.com or something. It's possible. It's fine if you do it. That's okay. But don't have a funny email ID. That's very unprofessional. And don't have a very long email IDs also. It's a little irritating for the other person to type. So try to have a short, crisp, decent mail ID. The next one is going to be, you need not include your father's name, because you're not getting a job on the basis of any recommendation or a sifarish or something. So your father's name is not going to be important when you're applying for a job. Irrespective of your father's name, your job is going to be based on your credentials and your ability. So including father's name, mother's name, and languages known and all does not make sense, to be very honest. Languages known is going to make sense in case you know something apart from, let's say, if I'm staying in Bengal, English, Hindi, Marwari and Bengali is expected, because Marwari being my mother tongue, Bengali being the state I'm living in, and English, Hindi because they're the most commonly used languages we communicate in. So in that case, I don't have any extra great language skills over here, because I've not learnt anything extra. So please do not put in languages in case you don't know an extra language. If you know Chinese and you're applying to a company wherein maybe they have a lot of Chinese exporting, importing and all whatever work going on, great, please mention. But otherwise mentioning English, Hindi, Bengali, Marwari is going to be ridiculous. I mean, there's nothing, that's not an achievement. That's not the basis on which I'll get a job. So that does not make sense to be included. Now the other question that I get very often is cover letter. Do you want your cover letter may be a part of your mail body itself, And respected sir is outdated. Please don't write respected sir. You don't mention, you don't address someone that way. When I address, I also write hi, comma, and then the next line my letter starts. It's fine. Hi or hello. Hello is even better. And generally what you need to do for your resume and all is dear sir. And also I would suggest, what I personally do and I would suggest is dear space sir / ma'am. And ma'am is not M-A-M. M-A apostrophe A-M. Please don't misspell something in resume. Don't you dare make a mistake, a spelling mistake on your resume or a grammatical error. I mean, one page, and that is also not, accurate. Of course, I would never hire a person who's making a mistake on a resume. Never ever would I even consider the profile. If someone has a typing error, has a spelling mistake on the resume, I would never do that. So you cannot have your resume. And what happens is when you're preparing your resume, because you've read the same thing 10 times, even if there is a mistake, you'll not be able to spot it. That is why it's very important that you have your resume proofread by 20 other people, 5 other people, 7 other people. Because when I'm reading, I've made the resume, I'm reading the same thing again and again. So even the mistake seems to be okay because you're rereading it so many times. So that is why you will not be able to spot the mistake that easily. So show it to other people so that they can spot the mistake very easily. So cover letter, so it's going to be dear sir and not respected sir. That's one. Now cover letter, what happens is a lot of people give the resume separately and there is going to be a cover letter separately. And there'll be 2 PDFs. Please do no Word documents. There'll be 2 PDFs, one for the resume and one for the cover letter. So do not put your cover letter, do not have I would recommend, personally I would recommend, do not have another PDF for your cover letter. Because see, when you're sending a resume, I will read the mail body, then I will read a cover letter wherein you're just flattering me probably. Dear sir, I would want to be in your esteemed institution and God knows what. So it's going to be quite a redundant information, to be very honest. So does not make sense to have a cover letter that way. I'm applying for this position. Yeah, in case you have a specific position that you're applying for, maybe a cover letter is justified in that case. That there is an opening in this department and this, because that is not included in your resume. I have heard that my friend told me, this and so person in your company has informed me that there's this so and so opening in your company in this profile and I would like to apply for the same. So that is a different question, and then the cover letter is justified. Even then, my personal recommendation would be that do not use a cover letter. The reason being that whatever you're going to be mentioning in the mail body, that is more or less what you're going to be putting in the cover letter. It becomes redundant stuff. The person who's receiving your mail, he will have to open 2 PDFs and has to go through the nonsense you've written in the mail body. So the guy gets irritated even more. He has to see 3 places. One is the mail body, cover letter PDF and resume PDF. Don't you think I will make his life easier if I put the cover letter in the mail body itself? So that is why I personally recommend not to include a cover letter until the website is mentioning of the company that you need to send in the resume along with a cover letter. Then you can't argue, you have to give a separate cover letter. So what do you put in the mail body? That's the next question in that case. So when I'm looking at a mail body, the email which I'm sending, in that body what I write is dear sir, comma, in the next line. Now what I do is, earlier what I used to do is that I'm a graduate from Xavier's College and I have done this designation. I have experience in Kane India earlier, and I have also, I'm also into a corporate training in these companies, visiting faculty in these. A very short resume, a very short profile, like maybe 4 to 5 lines. 4 lines. 1 line is for my degree, 1 line is for my 2 lines for my experience. And please find my resume attached. Looking forward to a positive response. Thank you. Thanks and regards is what I use. Thanks and regards, name, number, and the attachment is there. That's all that I do in the cover letter. If it is a specific profile, in that case, say for example, I'm applying for a visiting faculty. In that case, I wish to apply as a, what I do is in the subject line, resume, space, visiting faculty. So I don't even have to give that in the straight line. And the person knows if he wants to open my mail, he may open. If he does not want, he can skip that also. And please don't send a mail without the subject in the mail. Please don't do that. So make sure that the subject line in the mail is given. Resume, space, just that much is okay. Resume and a colon, that's also okay. Or in case you have some profile, finance profile or something, whatever you want to mention, that is what goes in the subject line. And try to keep your cover letter crisp, so that the person, that cover letter needs to be in 10 seconds, whatever points in your resume which you want the person to read in 2-3 lines. So just very quick brief about you. And in case there is a particular profile, I wish to apply for this in this position in your company, as I've heard there is an opening, or whatever the way you want to put it. So put your cover letter in your resume itself, and please don't make more than 3-4 lines about yourself, and more than 3-4 lines about more than 2 lines about what you're intending to do, because nobody wants to read so much. Nobody's got the time. Try to understand that. Writing the name in the subject line might not be a good idea, might be a good idea. In case your email ID is sufficient, in that case you might not need to, you may not put your name in the subject line. And in case your email ID is not communicating your name properly, in that case you can put resume : space and then your name. And even otherwise, your resume, the attachment has got your name, so it's not going to be a problem. Anyways, next part is, do not copy paste career objective, and you may also skip the career objective altogether. Now say for example your resume is not does not have that much space that it can incorporate a career objective. Excuse me. Say for example my resume does not have enough space that I can have a 2-line career objective or a 4-line for career objective. I might skip it. It's okay. There's no problem with it. If you want to include a career objective, it needs to resonate with the company you apply, because it gets very difficult, because maybe the career objective which I'll have when I'm applying for a training firm or an XYZ firm, a manufacturing company I'm applying, a service company I'm applying, a chartered accountancy practicing firm when I'm applying to an MNC, it might be a different career objective that I have to probably write in order to get their attention. And a lot of times career objective is something that people might not even look at when they are calling you for an interview. When you are called for an interview, the career objective might not be an important part, but on the interview table, the career objective is going to be very important. And especially if you've given something hi-fi, they might question you on that. And do not do a copy paste, because the moment it is a copy paste, people can understand. Don't make the mistake of thinking that the interviewer is stupid. A lot of people make this assumption कि interview को बेवकूफ बनाएंगे and job ले लेंगे. So don't go with that assumption. That's a very wrong assumption to carry. So career objective, in case you do not have a space, leave it. If you have space, there is no harm in putting the career objective in a very simple English. It's not about your vocabulary. It is about what actually you intend to do. If you have something good, if you can think of something good, like your career objective should be something that is highlighting your 5-year, 10-year objective. So if you have something of that kind, then you mention, otherwise you don't mention. You can skip career objective. Please use a good font type. Calibri, Garment, etc. are good ones. Decent size 11 to 12. You can actually go down to 10 also. 10 is also a pretty decent size. And one may use one color other than black and white for shading, like a grey or a dark blue or a light blue or something, which is not very flashy. I'll show you a sample resume. So to shade the background or something, you might use another third color, but that needs to be something like a grey or a dark blue or a light blue or something which is not flashy, which is not, which is not very eye-catching or something. It needs to be a little dull. It needs to actually be a little dull. So you can use just one more extra color. Please do not use red and all to highlight any word also. You're not supposed to be using red to highlight a word. Take a print and see if the colors and shading are fine in the print form. That is also very important. Now say for example, I've shaded my resume. It's looking brilliant on the screen. But when I print it out, save and try to take out, even if it is a color you've used, a blue color or something, take out the same resume's printout in the black and white format also. Because when you're sending the resume to someone, what if they're not going to be checking on the laptops, on the computers? What if they're going to be taking out the printouts of all the resume and then going through it? And what if your shaded area is not turning out to be very well when you're printing it out? It's not coming out well. And what if it's printed in the black and white, which is most of the companies will be doing? They will not be printing your resumes in color format. So when your colored resume is printed in the black and white version, is it giving out the right details? Is it being printed well or not? Like suppose on a blue background, I print something in black. It might be okay on the screen, but when I'm talking about a printout, it's not going to be okay. So you need to look into that also. I know it's very small things, but try to understand it's just a one-time hard work, and then you're going to be using the same resume over and over again. You have to do all these things. You don't have an option. And it's very small things, but these things matter. Don't irritate the person. Make the person's work easy who's trying to hire you. Right? If you irritate him right now, what are you going to do when you're getting hired? So don't irritate the person. Make his life easy when he's going through your resume. Right? You may want to skip hobbies. You should definitely not mention your strengths and weaknesses. So now what happens, a lot of people have seen in their resume, they'll put their strengths and weaknesses also. You're not supposed to be putting strengths and weaknesses on your resume, because one, it's unnecessary information, and second, because if you're putting your strengths and weaknesses on the resume, the person is bound to be questioning you on that. And weakness, why should I show my weakness? If he's going to ask me a question in the interview, then I will talk about my weakness. No? Why should I give it from the very beginning that these are my weaknesses? So strengths, and only giving strengths is of course not going to work. So do not give strengths and weaknesses on your resume. It's not a very good idea. It's a topic that needs to be discussed in your personal interview. In the PI section, I'll discuss in more details, but please in the PI also don't tell me that I do not have any weaknesses. Please don't do that. That's also a very bad answer to give. Everybody's got weaknesses. And don't give weaknesses that my weakness is, I'm very punctual, or my weakness is perfectionist. So don't give all that rubbish. Everybody's prepared with all those kind of answers. So please don't give those rubbish answers. We'll discuss how to go about the strengths and weaknesses portion, but don't give all these answers. Don't try to show that you're like Sati Savitri or something, or that you're some John Cena or someone. So it's not that way. It's not that way. So don't try to portray yourself as some superhuman kind of something over there. So that I'm very disciplined, I'm very diligent in this and that. Okay, we are supposed to be giving out the best of ourselves, but try to give it, and there's going to be a little bit of act also. So you have to play it subtly and play it well. You need to exaggerate, you need to sell yourself, agreed, but a little subtle tarike se, right? The next one is going to be your languages to be mentioned. We've already discussed, and English, Hindi, mother tongue, there is no achievement in that. Use a simple, crisp language and short sentences. Use very crisp language. Do not try to repeat the words, I stood first, I stood first, I stood first 20 times, not looking good. I achieved this, I achieved this. Don't use the word achieved again and again. It seems very boastful and all. It sounds very small. These are very small things. And honestly, I've spent a lot of time going through the resumes and actually preparing my resume also. So with a lot of experience, I'm telling you all these things. Your language should be very crisp and short sentences, because again, the reader needs to get maximum information in those 15-20 seconds. If you have a problem, you make versions of your resume, give it to someone and give them exactly 15 seconds to read, and then snatch away the resume from the person and ask him, what did you get? You will understand what you want to, what do you want to sell about yourself in those 15-20 seconds. So give the resume to someone who's not gone through your resume, who does not know about you, and ask him to go through it and snatch it away in 15 to 20 seconds and see what are the things that he's retained, or what are the things he's gone through, and did you want to highlight those things. So crisp language, short sentences. Resume is not about your vocabulary. It's about communicating your achievements in a subtle, in a good way, and as much as possible in the shortest possible span. A common misconception: if I do not have a certificate for something, I cannot mention it in my resume. This is another question which I get very often, that I do not have a certificate for some social work I've done in school level or something, so I cannot mention in my resume. It's not that way. If you do not have a certificate, you can definitely mention in your resume, provided you're able to answer the questions on that. Because ultimately you're going to be questioned on your resume. So will you be able to answer and justify the points written in your resume is what matters with respect to writing or not writing it. So you do not need to have a certificate for everything that you mention in your resume. Actually, you can, provided it is true, you can answer the questions in the interview, only then you are allowed to use that in the resume. The interviewer is going to be smart. That is why he is the interviewer. So he will be questioning you. You need to be comfortable with whether you'll be able to answer or not. So don't brag nonsense stuff or inaccurate stuff on your resume. But you don't need a certificate for that. For the experience section, I'll just go through the attached sample and I'll show you how the time frame, the company name, the time frame, as I mentioned, the timing for which you've worked, the company's name, the designation at which you're working, your responsibilities, the kind of work you were doing, what you've learned in the job profile needs to be mentioned. I'll show you the sample resume because it seems to be so much of data. How do I put it in one page? So I'll show you a sample as to how we can do that. Do not use too much bold letters or capital letters. Capital letter is very ugly to read. It is very difficult to read. You take more time to read capital letters. So that is why I'm requesting you to not use too much of capital letter on your resumes. And do not use too much bold, because what happens is, if every line has got one bold letter, because I made a first draft of my resume. Every line I made the college name as bold. Say for example, I got 5 certificates in 5 management festivals. What I had done was I had made the college name bold. How does it matter? I don't need, the bold part needs to be used maybe 2, 3, 4 places maximum in your resume, so that it is highlighting those things. I don't want him to go through 10 colleges names within 15 seconds, 20 seconds. What will I do with that? So don't use too much of bold. I see people using every single line will have one word which is bold. Don't do that. That's a little ugly way of presenting your resume. Please don't do that. Right? It needs to be very catchy. The resume should be such that within 30 seconds, 20 seconds, because you understand the concentration level is low, the attention span is low, people don't have time. And people are getting hundreds and thousands of resume. He needs to get all the information, that information which is going to get you a job. Those qualities of mine needs to be communicated in the 20-30 seconds, which is going to actually get me to the interview table. Therefore, choose very carefully as to what you are planning to highlight on your resume. Everybody with me on this? Everybody perfectly fine? Alright, just give me 1 second. Let me just show you a sample resume. I'll take mine itself over here. So, just a second. Alright, so I'll just give you a sample. I'll just give you an idea about it. So when you're looking at the resume over here, just a moment. Right, so over here, so I've just put in my name over here. Male single, it's an advantage to be single because I can give more hours. It's actually a little low. I might actually leave that outside, but single is an advantage because then you don't have to go back home and attend the family and have the family obligations and all. You can spend in more hours. It might sound a little bad when I'm saying this. It's not that if you're married you're not getting a job, obviously, but putting in your marital status is something that people generally do on the resume. So after you're married, you don't need to put in married, but if you're single, it might be a good idea to put in a comma and a single. Your gender needs to be mentioned, and that's done over there. And that's all the personal information that I'm giving. There is no other personal information on my resume. What I have over here is my mail ID, which is no nonsense mail ID. It's an absolutely plain, simple, my name @gmail.com, and the phone number is provided over here. Phone number, it's a good idea to have the country code over here. It's a formal way of putting in the country code. And M colon is working fine. It's working fine. If I want, I can also remove the M and colon, because anyways you can see, you understand its phone number. You don't have to tell the interviewer ki ye phone number hai. It's looking like that. But it looks decent this way, so it's been placed this way over here. If I want, I could have removed email, but you can actually type email लिख करके देखिए without the email and with the email. You look at the resume, you'll find this is looking better. So a lot of times you have to see the resume, how it is looking like in both the alternatives. So you need to check that. Then I've got the academic qualifications over here. I've got the board and university. Now I'll tell you very small things. Now if you notice, if I had done a middle alignment over here, ICI would have been here. I would have been starting here. CFA would have been starting over here. Instead, what I did was, it's all left aligned. If you notice, just a second. Just a minute. 1 second. I'd rather duplicate my slide. Just give me a moment. Yeah, now it's fine. So now if you're looking over here, I have not given a middle alignment, very small things, but it's making my resume look very neat and tidy. Please don't get irritated because I tend to look at very small things. Very minutely. Now middle alignment, had I done a middle alignment, ICI would have been this here, CFA Institute would have been this, St. Xavier's College would have been this. They would have been starting in a different place, but they are starting in the same place. Don't you think it's looking much neater over here? It need not be in the margin. So what I need to do is I need to just do the indentation on the right side. So it's left alignment, but I have indented it on the right side so that it's all starting in the straight line. It's looking much cleaner. It's very clean this way. Then the degrees are over here, and see, if you notice, there are blue lines. I have used the grid lines to be blue over here. If you notice, the grid lines are blue. And if you notice, this shading is gray, and there are 2 shades of gray I'm using, but you will not be able to make out the colors in that way. It's not looking ugly. It's not standing out that way, if you understand what I'm saying. CGPA percentage is mentioned over here. I want to highlight something. I'll put it in a bracket over here. So, you know, your scores and all, you can put in your scores and all over here. And because I just recently deleted, I had an academic distinctions portion wherein I was putting in where I stood first, where I stood what, and how many first quartiles I got, and how many above 70% in CFA I got and all. So there was a section over here in the previous version, but I had to delete that because I don't want to go to a 2-page resume format right now. I don't want to do that. I want to stick to the 1-page resume. I had given an NISM exam also. I have a few modules cleared over there. That's not there in my resume. Because if the person is not going to be hiring me on the basis of this, he's definitely not hiring me on the basis of those 2-3 modules that I've appeared for. So I want my resume to be a very crisp 1-page resume. Do you understand? Do you see the middle alignment is not there? So small things, please focus on all these things. And I have put in a few things extra that I wanted to mention. I've put in over here. So this was earlier, this particular was earlier mentioned in the academic qualification, and I wanted to show it on my resume, and therefore I did that because it's close to it's in the top 15 ranks. So I wanted to show CPT gives only 10 ranks, but my score is in the top 15 ranks. So that is why I wanted to show this over here. So I had to remove the academic qualification. What you can do is you can have an academic qualification over here, and whatever extra you've done, you can put in over here. But since it was not fitting in my resume, I had to delete that portion. There's also one more thing, you can put in the year column also, the year of graduating. That is another column you can add. I do not add that column because it gets a little clumsy over here. So I tend to leave that column out. You can add the year column over here. Right? So these are the things you can mention. BCom, please don't write B.com. It does not seem very nice. You can put in bachelor's in commerce in full. If you want, you can do B.com in total also. So that is this part, and it's a 1-page resume. If you see, it's a 1-page resume. It's not a double-page resume, and it's very neatly made out. And it's a format which I am Calcutta and all these people follow. So it's a very good format which I got hold of. Even I had taken the format from a friend of mine, and then I edited and tried to make it in you know, that suits my profile. And then when you're looking at the work experience, if you notice, say for example, the company's name is over here, the designation is over here, the duration is over here, and my roles and responsibilities and the profile details is over here. So do you see all the 4 things which I asked you to mention is mentioned over here in a very neat, crisp manner. So the details, and over here I could not give the details over here, and therefore the details of the tenure is actually mentioned. It's very important to mention the tenure for your work. So that is being done over here. So I have the work experience requirement spread out in this way. And over here, I'm not using multiple colors. I'm just using 2 different shades of gray over here. So it's fine. It's working pretty fine. So when I'm looking at the work experience internships, I can actually get rid of the internships part. I did not notice. I can actually get rid of this part. So now when I'm looking at this part, now this is what is more important right now, because all these 4 things is what I'm doing simultaneously. So these things are mentioned over here. So it's in a very short, crisp manner that I'm mentioning what I'm doing right now. Self-employed and all these things are there. The previous one was K in India. The company's name is there. My designation, management trainee finance, is there. October 13 to 14th to May 14 is here. And the details as to what I used to do, operational efficiency, benchmarking, optimization, etc. is mentioned over here. My previous work is mentioned over here. So that is how I put in this. Extracurricular achievements, activities, honors. Now I could not afford to have extracurricular activities separately, awards and achievements separately. So I've clubbed it all together over here, and it's actually not looking very ugly. Instead of having the activities or the achievements or the honors separately given, what I've done is I've categorized them into 3 skills. So basically, even if the interviewer is not going to be going through all this, what he will do is, acha, literary oratory skills hai, management, fest and all is there, community service, matlab social work is there. So even if he does not go through all this, within 15 seconds I've communicated the information that the guy is good at talking, the guy is probably okay with the management fest, and the guy is also socially active. That's my 5-7 seconds. Okay, he's worked a trainer, faculty trainer, consulting. He was working in K in India as a management trainee earlier, and these are the designation he has. So I have actually given out all the information that I wanted to in the 15-20 seconds that I had. Did you notice? So I don't expect the interview to actually go through all this. And if you notice, there's just one thing that is bold over here. That's all. Because that's something that I wanted to highlight. So other than that, there's no bold over here. Earlier, in a very older version of mine, I was highlighting Simulate, the fest ka naam. Whether it's Simulate or Zavotsav or Threshold or Excalibur, how does it matter the name of the fest? That was a college time ka resume. So that point of time I had every single line had a bold letter. This name was a bold letter. But that's not something that's very nice. Do you see how the information is and see the amount of information that I have given out in a one-page resume? The amount of information that has been conveyed over here. Margins are very thin, if you notice. There are very thin margins over here. That is one disadvantage also that I have. Printout mein problem ho sakta hai. There could be a problem in printing it out. But it's okay, I don't mind. I mean, I'm okay because I cannot delete more stuff. I've already deleted a lot of things. So, and I want it to be a one-page resume. I want, you know, that at least for the next 2-3 years, I should have a one-page resume. That's better at the moment. So, and see the amount of personal information that I have, the amount of personal information that I've conveyed over here. That's it. Right? So, are you understanding how or what kind of resume you could be preparing? How could you be preparing a very single pager resume? And you can definitely use multiple colors. I've used a gray shade, that's again black and white, a part of black and white, and there's just this blue. Because when I used these lines in gray color, it was seeming to be a little odd. And when I had the middle alignment, this was looking very weird. It was looking very ugly. And please go for that perfection. It's very important. And since I'm communicating most of the things, might as well use all these ideas. Might as well use all these ideas. You know, these different shaders looking actually good. And if you notice, there's a very thick black line over here. If you notice, there is a thick black line over here. You see the resume without the thick black line, you'll not like it. Very simple. If you also notice, there is going to be a very thin lines over here if you notice. See, it's not black line, it's very thin gray lines. If you notice, there is a very thin gray, that's a very light line. But now if you notice a resume, you will see that it seems to be there are sections over here. And it does not even stand out. Very small things, the lines. Just look at the shade of the line. Very small things to be noticed. And you see this one. This is where your resume is starting. So it's giving a proper flow to the resume. And when I was using this, I made this one as a very dark black line. It was looking ugly because over here, it's important because there are 2 shades of gray. So I need to segregate that part with a thick black line. So it might sound a little childish that I'm going about in these kind of things also, but you have to make a resume only once. This resume, I've been using it for last 3-4 years or something. It's just that I need to keep on inserting lines and adding things, deleting things. That's all I'm doing. So make a very, very, very nice, professional, crisp, good resume before you start using it. And then you need to keep on updating it, and you'll not get a 100% accurate resume. But since you have a good sample with you, try to build a very nice one in the first go itself. Can we move